My name is Nina, and we're coming to you from Summerwood Stables, where we have Tack on trial. On today's docket, we have the Lightrider. This is really a very exciting bridle. It's like a very typical and beautiful dressage design. Let's have a look at the actual bridle. We have a beautiful padded crown piece. We have the beautiful padded brow band and the lovely padded nose band. We have the floating chin strap that goes all the way through both sides and down and releases. You can see it has a lot of movement to it. It's not going to get stuck anywhere. It does move and does release. What the designer says about the chin strap is that, as you can see, it comes through these rings on the noseband, that it disperses a bit of the pressure. And because the horse doesn't have so much to resist against, it makes them lighter. I buy that, and that was her intention. But I think there's something else going on. I think there's an added benefit that's suggesting to the horse to come up a little bit. So it works a little bit like, maybe more like a curb bit. I always hate to describe any of the bitless bridles like they are bitted bridles, but of course that is the frame of reference that a lot of us do have, so I will continue to do it. And this bridle also is made for endurance type riders, to where it has the underpiece like a halter has. The leather is so nice. It was so supple from day one. It's so pretty. It's such a pretty bridle. It fits really well, adjusts well. All of the buckles work so nicely. Again, all of the keepers, just beautiful. I have 2 fingers here. I have 4 fingers here. I have 2 fingers here. All of that very much like a regular bridle. So as far as Joe goes with our training, he is a big fan of long and low. The way you can see the way that he's built. He's a long horse, and he learned how to stretch, and he's like, that's for me. He loves it. He only made the transition to bitless a little over a year ago. It's been very hard for him to elevate and have a more elevated posture. I never thought that would happen bitless. I thought I would probably give that up. Well, wrong again. It's the most beautiful and uphill and the best posture he's had probably ever. And the lightness, I mean, they didn't name this Lightrider for nothing, because the lightness, he is so light right now. The sliding chin strap, I believe, is making some sort of a suggestion to him, since we all move away from pressure. When he feels a little bit of pressure coming from under his chin, I think he's responding by raising up slightly. Now, there's not a lot of pressure under the chin. It's mostly the action of a typical side pull. Most of the pressure is on the upper part, top part of the noseband. Okay, you ready to show off your Lightrider? Okay. Calling our first witnesses, we have Nina and Joe.
Joe has literally, no exaggeration, been off for about 7 years. He had an injury to his coffin bone, had stem cell therapy, came home to re-injure himself several more times. Sadly, in all that time, he's also aged. He's going to be 22 years old in May. So now I'm bringing back a horse that is not only very stiff from standing around for so long, but is now becoming an older man. With all of those trials and tribulations that go with aging, it overjoys me to know that coming 22 in May, I have found a riding situation for him, a tack situation for him, that is so conducive to rehabilitating him. The wonderful thing about the Lightrider is that the freedom that the horse feels in the bridle allows it the liberty to move its body in such a way that your horse can really use himself. But he's really starting now to enjoy coming back to work, and the Lightrider has been so instrumental in his happiness. His left bend is so much better. You know, I guess bitted people would think, oh my God, you think that would get worse without the bit, but actually, maybe and probably his left bend wasn't good, and it was something that he resisted against, probably because something with his mouth hurt. You know, I had him in a big fat snaffle, and then his nose tied down with a regular noseband and then a flash noseband, so he probably didn't like the way that felt on the left turn. Now, again, there's very little for him to resist against, and it's making him so much beautiful and lighter, and that lightness that we're achieving is really coming through to him wanting to be more active with his hind legs again. I know that, we are always very concerned in dressage about the horse's hind end. And when we start talking about the bitless bridle, we're bringing a lot of attention back to the front end. We have to be holistic about this. The horse has a front end and a hind end, and we have to make all of that work very happily and very smoothly together. It's been a great reward for his cooperation because there is no incessant pulling to get anything done. You can give a nice little feel and you can give a great release, and it offers a really wonderful true release.
And now calling our second witnesses, we have Brooke and Adagio. Brooke is 25 years old, has been riding and showing since she was 5 years old on the 100 jumper circuit. Adagio is 17 years old, and he was trained in the very, very standard way where we apply pressure from our legs and we hold on to those reins and hope that the horse comes into a frame when we do that. Pushing the horse into the frame and holding and or pulling to catch that energy in the bridle. Brooke, coming from the hunter jumper world, was used to having, all sorts of gadgetry applied to her horses, draw reins and bitting rigs and all of that stuff. And she was never actually taught about what it would take to suggest to a horse to move in an outline. So it's a really great thing to be able to see them going so beautifully already after just a few months for Adagio being ridden bitless, and for Brooke, who has ridden with a bit for her entire life and just in the last couple of years has been riding with bitless bridle, and how much she has had to, of course, relearn to use her body, as did I, to ask the horse more questions with our bodies rather than asking the horse a bunch of questions with our hands, with the reins, and with the bit. He'd never really developed a very strong canter. I had trouble holding the canter for longer periods of time. And we are now doing walk canter transitions with him. There's no pushing or pulling going on or holding him together. There are no spurs. This is all on trying to use good solid riding and good solid foundation of basics and a bridle that he is super comfortable in, which is the Lightrider. I always say there's a bitless bridle out there for every horse, and every horse is different, and they all have different needs from a bridle, and every rider has different needs from a bridle. But this would certainly be one that I would urge you to try. She does have a money-back guarantee. The verdict is in. We adore the Lightrider bridle, and not just for rehabbing a horse, and not just for an older horse transitioning, but for any horse or any rider in any riding discipline or situation. The Lightrider would be a wonderful addition to your tack room.
I will speak.